Hello everyone, thanks for taking the time to join us today. Welcome to our webinar on SYSTRONICS products for Sage 300 ERP. The webinar will be presented to you by our product manager, Lucine Sargsyan. My name is Naira and I'm the marketing coordinator at SYSTRONICS. We hope you will enjoy the presentation and will find the webinar useful. Lucine?
Thank you, Naira. Hi everyone. I would also like to welcome you to our webinar. And I would like to start it with intercompany utilities. Intercompany utilities is a modular product and each module can be purchased separately. Let me describe you what you can do using this application. It allows you to create GL accounts, AR customers, AP vendors, and IC items in different companies automatically. Let me show you one example on vendors. Now, I'm logged into company RG Limited and I'll go and create a vendor in this company. So I'm creating vendor 1406 in this company, adding it, and when I click the Synchronize button, I can tell that I want the same vendor to be created in other companies as well. Now you can see the vendor is created in other companies as well. Let's see this. I'll go to RG Inc. company now. I'll open my ACPAC and log into RG Inc. And if I go to accounts payable vendors, I'll find vendor 1406 here. And so same way you can create GL accounts, AR customers, and IC items. These are what we call synchronization modules. Intercompany utilities can also help you with automatic trade between the companies if one of your company is selling to another company. When a purchase order is created is a company who is buying, a sale order, an OE transaction, OE order entry, is created in the selling company. Let's see how this works. So now I am in RG Limited and I am buying 5 lamps from RG Incorporated. I'll select the vendor. From the transaction entry point of view, I don't do anything different. It's exact same as if there is no intercompany involved. The only difference is that the vendor I have selected is an intercompany vendor. I select my item. Now this is the lamp which I want to buy. And I mention what is the quantity and the cost. When I post this transaction, of course, it is posted in RG Limited as a purchase order, but also it creates a corresponding replica transaction in RG Incorporated as a sale order. Let's go to RG Incorporated and see this sale order. So in RG Incorporated, if I go to order entry transactions, I will see sale order 72 for lamp, for desk lamp, for quantity 5 and price 20. So no duplicate entry and less place for errors, no place for human errors. Okay, now let's continue the cycle. Now the goods are shipped from RG Incorporated. So the user just selects his order. Sorry. And says, okay, in this case, I'm going to ship everything. So I'll just ship it all and post. When the shipment is posted in RG Incorporated, a receipt transaction, pure receipt transaction is created in RG Limited. Now, if I go to pure receipt entry in RG Limited, I will see that there has been a receipt of through a sender scope, quantities 5 and unit cost of 20. Similarly, the cycle continues with invoices. Now, if I post the invoice in RG Incorporated, it will be created in RG Limited, but I have set up my system in a way that admin is not allowed to automatically create invoices. The user who is now creating an invoice in RG Company is not allowed to create invoices automatically in RG Limited. So what happens in this case? The invoice is posted in RG Incorporated, and the user has to log into so-called approval console in RG Limited, see what are the documents which are pending to be created, and if he is okay with that, just process and the document will be created. So now invoice 65 is created in RG Limited as well. Let's see that. Now you can see that the invoice has been created for the same with the same information as in the RG Incorporated, in the RG Limited as well. So this is this module we call it trade automation, and this automates your PO and OE invoice document, creation of the documents. Intercompany utilities also allows you doing intercompany item transfers. And when you transfer items, this is without buying and selling, just transferring from one stock to another stock, or one company to another company. And when you're buying and selling, what happens? There are adjustment transactions created in both companies, in the company which is transferring from and in the company which you are transferring to. The other module of intercompany utilities is GL distributions. It allows you to create GL distributions similar to ACPAC, GL allocations. The only difference is this is within multiple modules, and also it allows you to create this not just by fixed percentages like ACPAC allows, but also it allows you to select number of transactions, number of employees in the module, in the companies, or balance of the destination accounts in those companies. Intercompany utilities also allows you to generate consolidated reports. What does consolidated reports mean? It gets your aging, your customer and vendor transaction information from all multiple companies. Let me just go to that company. Okay. So it gets your, these reports work only in RGCOM company. Now, when you go to consolidated report, you will see 4 reports here. Aged receivables, aged payables, vendor transactions, and customer transactions. Now, what it does, it consolidates the aging reports from multiple companies and prints in one. Let me show you one example of aged receivables report. So here, I can say, for example, group by customer number, and print for me the aging report for both RG Inc. and RG Ltd. Now look, what the report has printed is that for customer 1,100, I have around 4 transactions in RG Incorporated, and the balance is 1,689. And for the same customer, I have this many invoices, documents in RG Limited, and the balance is 7,269. And this customer, Bargain Mart San Diego, in total owes me 8,958, which is the sum of all companies in my ACPAC. Aged payables is very similar to this one. Then the other set is customer transaction by company. This one, Let me just select here which documents I want to print. And this one just shows me the document and which company this document belongs to. And again, the total in both companies. Let me just show you the example. For example, I can see here that 1,100, there is an invoice in company RG Limited for 2,535. And for example, there is an invoice 58 in RG Incorporated for 766. And of course, I have total, what is the customer total in each company, and what is the customer total in all the companies, all the selected companies. I just want to mention one more thing. This age, the receivables and age payables report are very similar to their standard ACPA counterparts with the logic behind them. Okay, so much about intercompany utilities. Let's move to the next application we would like to show you today. That is document attachment applets. Document attachment applets, well, as the name is saying, allows you to attach different information, different documents to your transactions. I will show you two applets now. It will be the IC item applet and the AP invoice applet. But there are much more. I will show you the entire list a little bit later. So let me log into that company. Okay, let's start with IC item template. What I have done, I have add a shortcut to that applet on my desktop. Now I have items here and items with attachment. This is just the naming I have given to my applet, so the user, it will be easier for the user. When I double click on this, it opens a screen. It opens the actually document attachment IC items applet, but the screen is very, very similar. It's actually the exact replica of items screen. The only difference is that there is a button here called attachments. I have already attached an image for lamp. Now let's view it. I'll go to attachments. I have the image. Just say open, and I will see the image of the lamp. When I want to attach an image to another item, I'll just go to that item for which I want to attach. Okay, this one already has. I'll browse, find the document which I want to attach, and save. It's very simple, very straightforward, both attaching and viewing. Now, when you are attaching something, it is saved in the database level, in the database itself. So when you DB down, DB load, etc., all this information is there in the database. If you are moving, for example, your database from one table, from one PC, one server to another server, the information goes with the database. Let me show you another example on accounts payable. So attachment, excuse me. It is possible to attach transactions, not only to attach images and documents, not only to master files like items, vendors, customers, but also to transactions. And now in accounts payable invoices, well, most commonly we would like to attach the invoice, the soft copy of an invoice which we received from the vendor, right? So we'll have a backup. So on the invoice entry, again, this is the applet of AP invoice entry. And again, you can see it is very, very similar to AP invoice entry actually. The only difference is this attachments button. Let me show you something here. When I go to attachments, I have a PDF file. I have already attached a soft copy of my invoice. I can just open and view the invoice which the vendor has sent me. And one more thing about document attachment applet, it allows you not just attaching, but also to save as hyperlinks. For example, if you don't want your documents to be saved in the database, you can save your documents somewhere on the server and just add a hyperlink here. When I open it will open for me again the attachment. So the difference is in these two that in this case, when it's an attachment, it's saved on the database. If it's hyperlinked, it's saved somewhere in the server, and only the link is saved in the database. And of course, if it's a hyperlink, you can also put a hyperlink like the website or something else, and it will automatically open the website. Now let's go to our site. I would like to show you there the list of the applets. So, well, if you're probably familiar, our site is systronics.com. And you can find a lot of information about our products there, download the trial versions, etc. Let's go to Document Attachment Applets page. Okay. This is the list of all applets which we are currently shipping. There are various applets in Payables, Receivables, GL, ICO, APO, and Project and Job Costing and Payroll modules. Okay. And these applets, they are served separately, so you can purchase only the applet which you require, of course. You can also check the slides of the applet, the slideshow on our website for each applet you are interested in. For example, let me show you a slideshow for OE orders. So this is like a self-running demo. It just shows you how attachments can be viewed in OE order entry. Okay. Okay. This much about document attachment applets. Next, I would like to talk about Toolpak. Toolpak is a diagnostic tool which allows you to identify discrepancies between GL and subledgers. Currently, you can reconcile between shipments clearing accounts in OE and GL, payables clearing account in PO and GL, IC control account in IC and GL, AP control account in AP and GL, and AR control accounts in AR and GL, obviously. I will show you only one of these tool sets. We will see today only purchase order tool set. Well, Toolpak is an external tool, and it is starting from your programs. You go to Start, and you will find SYSTRONICS Toolpak here. Of course, you can also create a shortcut for it on your desktop and launch it from desktop directly. Okay. Now, last little bit of theory. In my pure reconciliation tool set, there are 5 tools. What it can do, let me explain you. Pure receipt status, this is an inquiry tool with a corresponding report which allows you to easily identify the receipts which are not fully invoiced yet. This and return status tool are unique in the sense that they don't reconcile between modules, between PO and GL, but they reconcile within the module. They just show you the returns for which you don't have the credit notes yet, or receipts for which you don't have the invoices yet. Let me show you one example. So here, this is the screen. I can remove this show completed receipts. And I will say that there are 2 receipts now within this range that they are not fully invoiced. Receipt 23 has invoice HB 993, but it's partially invoiced, so it's not fully invoiced yet. And receipt 83, there is no invoice for this receipt at all. And I can print the report to a file, basically, or to printer if required. Return status is very similar to this one. It just shows you the credit notes, the returns for which you don't have the credit notes yet. So you didn't create a credit note, selected this return number. Now, next 3 tools will be for our reconciliations. Payables clearing account net change. This tool allows us to identify easily whether we have any period where there is a mismatch between GL and PO. Let's see that. Do we have any period? I'll just run this, and the application will give me some lines in black, other lines in red. Red lines are the ones where I have an issue. Now when I have an issue, Payables clearing account reconciliation will allow me to identify where do I have this issue, which transactions are causing this issue. I can either open this one and select the correct ranges, or when I'm on the Payables clearing account net changes screen, I can just double click the line which I want to investigate. And see which transactions are causing the issue. In my case, I have two transactions, one accounts payable invoice and one purchase order receipt, which don't have a match in GL. Now what I want to tell you here is that Toolpak is a diagnosis tool. It allows you to identify which transactions are causing the mismatch. But how to correct this mismatch in your GL or in your subledgers, in ARAP basically, is users. Users decides what to do to create a GL entry, to correct these transactions, or what to do. Toolpak will not correct the transactions. It will just show the ones which are causing the issue. And now I have here a lot of transactions in GL also, which are not coming from appropriate module. For example, you can see that this transaction is coming from IC receipt. And we know that if the transaction is coming IC receipt, it means there is no invoice for it yet, so that's why it's coming here. And let's say what I want to do, for example, I know that this transaction has to be matched with this transaction. I'll just select the transactions because I know that somebody posted a transaction in purchase order, receipt, then they deleted it in GL, then they went and manually entered the transaction in GL to correct the mistake. System will not identify that, but I can match them manually. So I'll just highlight these transactions, it's many to many, and I can say reconcile marked transactions. Okay, you can see that this line disappeared from here and it came here as a match. However, if you pay attention, you can see that the color is blue. Blue means that it's reconciled but with variance. So if I highlight on this, I can see that the group variance is $5 because a transaction with $50, I have reconciled with a transaction with $55. So this is not a real reconciliation. So I did something wrong. If it was correct, it would have been 0. The variance would have been as 0. And the last tool I want to show you in purchase order in the tool set will be PO and AP invoice reconciliation. This one, as the naming is saying, you just check whether all the transactions are correct. From PO, they have a match in accounts payable and the other way around. And you can check also, for example, the reason can be that somebody went and deleted the transaction in accounts payable or changed the amounts. For example, you can see that invoice 2 that exists in both purchase order and in accounts payable, and in both it is unmatched because somebody has changed the amounts, and because of this there is a variance now. Okay, other tools behave same way. They are different tool sets have different number of tools. For example, AR and AP tool sets have only 2 tools. And OE reconciliation has 4 tools, but very similar. PO reconciliation is the one which has the most number of tools. Now, each tool set, by the way, can be subscribed separately. So if you have an issue only in AR, you don't have to just go and subscribe to entire Toolpak. You can just subscribe to AR tool set. Okay. Now let's just move to the last product which we wanted to present you today. That is ARAP Settlement. ARAP Settlement is a useful tool when you have one entity which is both a vendor and customer for you. For example, you're buying and selling, so you have both AR invoices and customer and vendor invoices from that entity. What you do, you will define them as the customers in accounts receivable, then vendor in accounts payable, and later on you will not know what is the totals of this entity, right? So ARAP helps you to identify what is the total of the entity, helps you to settle the documents, like settle the customer documents with the vendor documents, or settle different customer documents with each other. Let me show you one example of this. So the basic of ARAP settlements is group. Group is like your entity for which you have defined different customers and vendors in ACPAC. Let me show you one example here. For example, I have group 5 where there is customer 1200 and vendor 1080 and also 4 vendors in the same group. This is my entity, but for different reasons I have created different customers and vendors for the same entity in my ACPAC. What I can do here, I can go and say, okay, you know what? Now I want to settle the document of this in this group between the vendors and customers. If I go to AO settlement batch list, okay, I'll select a group. On the receivables tab, I will see all the open documents for the customers in this group. So I have 2 customers and a lot of open documents. And on the payables tab, obviously, I will see all the open documents for the payables on this tab, so for the vendors. So I have 3 vendors with their corresponding documents. Now I have multiple options here. One of the options is manual reconciliation. I will just say, okay, let me just change the date. Okay, so I say this document and this document and this document. I'm going to settle against this document and this document, etc. So you can settle. This is one of ways. So manually you are choosing. The other way is you can say automatic settlements. What the system will do in this case? Whatever has the less balance, in my case it's vendors, it will settle all vendor documents against selected documents in the receivables. How these documents are selected is based on your order by option. So by due date, by document date, or by document number. When this transaction is done, I can print a statement which can be sent to that entity informing that which documents are settled against each other. So this is one sample. It's called draft because it's not posted. Once it's posted, the draft will be removed. And post this transaction. When I post this transaction, what will happen? It will create adjustment transaction both in AR and AIP module for the corresponding document and for the corresponding amounts. Another feature of ARAP settlements which I want to show you is this. ARAP settlement, as I said in the beginning, allows you to see in total what are the transactions, how much are the balances of the customers and vendors. You can either see the inquiry screen. This one just shows you total for the customers, total outstanding for customers and total outstanding for vendors. Or you can print a settlement report. This one will show you at the end what is the net between these functional amounts. For example, for group 5, the net is 290,000. And the last feature which I want to show you of this application is this. Let's say you want to make a payment to one of the vendors in this group. Let's find one of the vendors in group 5. So vendor 1,450. I want to make a payment to it. When I go to AP transactions and I create my payment entry, see, this is the standard accounts payable screen, And it's a customization of the screen actually. The customization is this part. Now I see that this vendor belongs to group 5, and actually the customers owe me $800,000, $887,000. So this will say that, okay, wait, don't pay it for them. Let's decide why they owe me this much. Okay, so it gives you better coordination of what you pay, so you will not pay extra. Similarly, such transaction exists in accounts receivable for AR. When you select a customer which belongs to a group, it will show you how much you owe to this customer based on all your vendor information. Okay. This much I wanted to show you. Naira?
Thanks, Lucine. We hope that the time you spent with us today was rewarding. This much about SYSTRONICS products for Sage 300 ERP. Thanks everyone for your participation. We look forward to meeting you again soon. Goodbye.
Thank you everyone. Goodbye.